Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? It's proclaimed the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another edition of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with Jay Dash and Big Easy. Going to talk a little American League catchers. Our boy Russell Martin went to the American League this year, correct?
Correct.
Where's that?
Blue Jays.
He's now catching in Toronto.
The thing I'm really worried about is no 47 today.
Yeah, 47. I don't know where the hell he's at. He must have, I don't know, shot his foot off and went to the emergency room or something. He's always got like 6 or 7 guns on him.
All legal.
Definitely.
So he says.
Oh, I believe him. He's a straight shooter.
Good one. I'll tell you one thing. Baseball, some people might not enjoy baseball. What it does is keep a long year interesting until football season comes around, to be honest. I mean, football's action every Sunday. You wait for it every week. It's fun stuff. But baseball is every day, man. You can come home. If you're bored, baseball's definitely on somewhere. It's every day.
Yeah, if you're bored, watch baseball. That'll really make things exciting for you.
Yeah, if you're bored and you don't know anything about baseball, watch a baseball game and you'll realize it's the best sport this country has.
Or just listen to us and you'll learn our number 15 catcher is Robinson Chirinos.
Always about business, Dash.
From the Texas Rangers. He's going to be turning 31 during the season. He hit .239 last season with a .290 on base. Pretty close to his career numbers, but he only had 389 career bats so far. And like I said, he's going to be turning 31, so he's getting his career started late. He did have 13 jacks and 306 at-bats last year, though, which looks pretty decent.
Low average, low OPS, low on the list. Get him out of here.
Well, listen, they got supposedly a top prospect catcher in the minors. His name's Jorge Alfaro. But I really haven't seen anything too special from him, at least on the offensive side. He might be a good defensive catcher, but I haven't seen much offense out of him. They also brought Carlos Corcoran over from the Astros, so he's going to be playing some catcher for the Rangers this season too. Texas fans are excited about Chirinos. They think he's going to be a pretty decent catcher for him.
He's having an okay spring.
Well, I tell you what, if he can get another 100 at-bats, more than he did last year, he can get up around 15, 16 home runs for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to number 14. Tyler Flowers from the Chicago White Sox. He's 29 years old. Hit .241 last year with a .297 on base. It's not that great, but if you look at his career numbers, he's just a .218 hitter with a .287 on base. He only had 936 career bats, though. But really, last year was kind of a breakout season for him. He hit 15 jacks, had 50 RBIs, 42 runs, and 407 at-bats. His strikeout rate is terrible. He had 159 in those 407 at-bats and just 25 walks. This guy was a top prospect at one time. Not a top prospect. He was a top 100 prospect. One of the top 10 catching prospects, but he's never lived up to his hype. It's mostly because he just Ks way too much.
Yeah, and he doesn't stay on the field. He hasn't shown much, and that's why he's 14 on our list.
Please believe.
At 13 now, we got
your boy.
Yeah. Walked it off against the Tigers, Stephen Vogt.
30 years old. Another guy, just 429 career bat, and he's already 30 years old. He hit .279 last year with a .321 on base, though, so he looked pretty decent last season. 9 jacks and 269 at bats. His K rate looked pretty good. He didn't walk quite as much as you want, but out of a catcher, it's not that big of a deal. He only played in 84 games last season and 149 in his career.
Not a lot of games for somebody who's 30. He must have been garbage before.
All I can say is he walked off against the Tigers.
Max Talbot scored 2 goals against Detroit.
But listen, all those numbers, they were all career highs for him. It was pretty much the most he played in his career. His K rate did improve last season. Like I said, it was pretty good, just 39 Ks and 269 at-bats. They also brought over that Josh Phegley. I think he played for the White Sox. Maybe not last season, but he came up in the White Sox system. He looked like a pretty decent catcher, but he never realized his potential really either. So they don't have too much going for him, but A's do like this Vogt, dude.
He only got 22 at-bats this spring training. He's What's he hitting there? 227. So
227.
not too much. Not very impressive here this spring. Slow
You better
start.
get a vote of confidence from the manager.
Yeah.
Or he's going to be in the
He's
dugout.
got Billy Bean's going to give him a vote of confidence.
Back to the minors for you, buddy.
All right, number 12. Alex Avila from the Tigers. He was a Gold Glove candidate last
Got
year.
walked off on.
Tigers.
He is still just 28 years old. Now, in 2011, he had a huge breakout year. He hit 295 with 389 on base, 19 home runs, 82 RBIs, 63 runs, and 464 bats. Just K'd 131 times, which isn't great, but it's not terrible. But since then, he's just been getting worse. His average never went up that high again. His homers never got up that high again. Obviously, his RBIs didn't. But look at his K rate. He K'd 151 times last year and 390 at bats. So he's actually K'ing a lot more these days, although he does still take the walk with the best of them.
Brandon Phillips would say he's garbage.
Brandon Phillips is garbage.
He says anybody with a high OPS and a low average is garbage. Not that 327 is that high. It's just not low either.
Well, I think he's going to be serviceable for the
Not
Tigers.
everybody's a
And not
superstar.
much more than that,
Well, listen, he has double-digit pop, even if he can't bring his average back up. He has a 247 career average, just 218 last year. So he's going to have to bring it up a little bit, but he has double-digit pop, and he's a Gold Glove type catcher.
Right.
So at least he'll give you the defense, if nothing else. You got to stay on the field, though. He's had 3 DL stints and 13 day-to-day injuries over the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, that's tough for anybody to go through.
But that's the life of a catcher, too.
It's a hard knock life.
Number 11, Kurt Suzuki.
Ichiro's brother?
Yeah, dead wrong.
It's his nephew.
Playing for the Twins, he's 31 years old. He actually had a pretty good season last year compared to his career numbers. He hit 288 with a 345 on base. Just 3 jacks, 61 RBIs, 37 runs. He only K'd 46 times and 452 at bats, so he has an elite K rate. But really, if you look after the All-Star break, he hit just 253 with a 313 on base. So really, he fell back down towards his career numbers. His career is a 257 hitter with a 314 on base. And he hasn't shown double-digit pop in years. Is just a serviceable catcher, pretty much.
Yeah, Kurt Suzuki, I guess serviceable is what you could call that. We're gonna use that word a lot here with these catchers because not a lot of them, they're not flashy. You don't think of all-star caliber catchers all over the field in the American League. But he is having a good spring, hitting 357 so far. He's played in 11 games. It's good stuff. Minnesota, though, it's tough out there. They really fell on hard times.
They still have garbage bags on their wall. I forget.
No, they got a brand new stadium.
That's what I think.
Yeah, well, Minnesota is my favorite second team, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, listen, you got the number 1 prospect coming up soon, so get ready for him, Byron Buxton, man. You're gonna love him.
They always competed with, low payroll.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of teams I like too.
yeah, it's good stuff.
Number 10, we're going to go with the Tampa Rays, Rene Rivera and John Jaso. Now, we're going to talk about Jaso in the DH segment, but he is considered the better hitter of the two. He played for the A's the past 2 seasons, but we're going to talk about Rivera here. He's going to be turning 32 during the season. He hit 252 with a 319 on base percentage last year, which is pretty nice. He has only 615 career at-bats. He's a 228 hitter with a 279 on base. So you could see last season he played a little bit better. He hit 11 jacks, had 44 RBIs and 27 runs and 294 at-bats. So he came up pretty big for San Diego last year. Now he's coming over to Tampa. They're bringing in Jaso too. So they're bringing in 2 new catchers this year.
So and it's anybody's position. Whoever can perform is going to get to play.
Well, here's the way I see it. Jaso is going to be a DH more while Rivera catches most of the time because Rivera is the better defensive catcher while Jaso is the better hitting catcher. But on days that Jaso catches, I wouldn't expect Rivera to DH.
Rivera's been around Man, he's an old head, though.
He's old, but like I said, just 615 career bats. He's another one of those guys. Catchers, we talk about players, they hit, sometimes their rookie years are around 26 or 27 years old. Now, catchers, you could actually add 2 years onto that. A lot of the times, they don't come up until they're 28 or 29 years old because it takes more time for a catcher to learn everything.
It's so hard to squat behind the plate and catch a ball.
No, think about Russell Martin, what he does. He has to call all the pitches. Yeah, the pitcher can shake him off, but a lot of the time, these pitchers are actually looking to the catcher, asking him, what should I throw?
You don't know anything about baseball. That's why the catching position is.
I don't know what the catcher does.
It's like
he
the
studies
quarterback.
all the hitters. He knows their weaknesses and their strengths, and he knows where not to have the pitcher throw the ball. And he sets up where the pitcher is supposed to throw the ball, and he tries to pull the ball into the zone when it's a little bit out to get the call. I know all about it. I'm not a dumbass.
Well, I disagree with that last statement.
They get to wear cool pads.
You think catchers don't try to sneak the ball back into the zone real quick when it's on a borderline call?
No, I'm saying your last statement, that you're not a dumbass.
No, I am not a dumbass.
Anyways, let's get back to Rivera real quick. Like I said, it was his breakout year last year. Before last year, he's never played in more than 45 games or had more than 104 at-bats. All right, let's move on to number 9.
Your boy.
I like this guy, the Seattle Mariners, Mike Zunino. He turns 24 today.
3rd overall pick.
So
that's big time.
Yeah, and listen, man, they flew him through the minor leagues. First of all, happy birthday, Zunino. Anyways,
happy birthday.
He came through the minors fast. He only hit 199 last year and 438 at bats.
Well, listen, they rushed him. Look, he was the 3rd overall pick in 2012, like Easy said. In 2012, they sent him to A short after they drafted him. He killed it. He hit 373 with a 474 on base, 10 jacks, and 110 at bats. So they moved him up to Double A real quick in 2012. He hit 333 with a 386 on base percentage and 51 at bats. Okay, 2013 comes around. They give him 203 at bats in Triple A and then move him up to the bigs. This is a catcher we're talking about.
Yeah.
And then his MLB debut in 2013, he hit just 214 with a 290. But you look in AAA, he hit just 227 with a 297. 11 jacks and 203 at bat. So he wasn't even hitting that great in AAA when they moved him up to the bigs. So he's really behind on his development, and he's still developing right now in the bigs. And obviously, he's struggling. 199 last year, like you said, Jim.
He needs to pick it up.
He did hit 22 jacks and 438 at bats, though. But yeah, just look at his numbers. 17 walks compared to 158 Ks. Why? Because you draft him and throw him in the bigs.
Yeah, well, guess what? Fantasy sleeper.
Oh, he's definitely a fantasy sleeper.
he's a fantasy.
Go look his spring training stats up. He's killing it.
He's fantasy passed out. Yeah, your boy Mikey Z is tearing spring up. He already got 3 pops, dude, in 32 at-bats.
What's he hitting?
313 with a 371 OBP.
There it is, man. This is his year.
Yeah.
Breakout.
Fantasy zombie.
All right, let's move on to number 8. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, Chris Ianetta. He turns 32 in April. Had a decent season last year in just 306 at-bats and 108 games played. He hit 252 with a 373 on base, 7 jacks, 43 RBIs, 41 runs, 54 walks, 91 Ks. The 91 Ks does seem like a lot, though. It's a little scary. Now, they have a backup in Drew Butera, who is going to be playing a little bit, too, because Ianetta is not going to be playing more than 110 to 115 games this season. But if you look, Ianetta, he had 4 double-digit home run seasons in his career out of his 7 years. But 3 of those came in Colorado. And over the past 3 years with the Angels, he hasn't hit more than 11.
Maybe there's something wrong with Los Angeles. Pujols started going downhill when he went there. Hamilton started doing drugs again when he went there. This guy is declining a little bit when he went there. I wouldn't go play there. It's a cesspool. The devil.
Mike Trout is blowing up there.
Mike Trout's the only one. It's because he's young. He hasn't learned about cocaine and strippers yet.
Oh, Trout is swimming in that.
Yeah, and that's why he's going to start going downhill.
You did wrong.
He's from Jersey, man. He knows what's going on. I'm telling you, I seen him when he won the MVP award. I think didn't he just win
What
the
did he do? Slap his
MVP?
wife?
No, he was at his mom's house with his family around him.
Just chilling.
Probably
Yeah,
about to
yeah, it
slap
was-
his mom and his sister.
It was fun. It didn't look like they were putting on a show. It was real, man. I liked when I seen that. I was like, man, that's cool.
Real world MLB MVP.
Yeah,
New
yeah.
MTV show.
Back to Ianetta real quick here.
I don't want to talk about him.
He's a pretty decent catcher. He's not going to give you a lot of pop. The thing about him is he's always had an excellent walk rate, so his home base percentage is always going to be pretty decent. And I wouldn't say he's a sleeper in fantasy, but he's going to be pretty decent if you... No, I'm telling you, man. Well, listen, if you play in a 12-team league, some leagues use 2 catchers. We're talking about 24 catchers. So Ianetta can give you some decent value for where he'd be drafted. That's all I'm saying.
I'll go with that. I'll give you that one.
All right, let's move on to number 7. Boston Red Sox Christian Vazquez. He's going to be turning just 25 during the season. He made his MLB debut last year, hit 240 with a 308 on base, just 1 jack and 20 RBIs and 175 at bats. But he showed a good walk rate, 19 walks, pretty good K rate, 33 Ks in just 55 games played. They brought Ryan Hannigan over, so they have him to back him up. But this guy is one of the best defensive catchers in baseball and one of the best catchers at framing pitches like Russell Martin is.
Yeah, we're going to give him the leg up over good old Ianetta because although he doesn't have an elite K rate, he's obviously serviceable. You know, Boston...
Well, yeah, listen, he has room to grow, too. He only has 175 Major League ABs. He's already one of the best defensive catchers. He doesn't have too much offensive value, but he could be serviceable. Look, in 2014 in AAA, he hit 279 with a 336 on base, 3 jacks, 20 RBIs, 35 runs, 21 walks, 52 Ks, and 244 at bats. And he has 204 walks and 361 Ks and 1,776 career at-bats in the minors. So he can take a walk, and he does have a good K rate, but he's not going to give you too much offensively. He's just a great defender.
And you need that, though.
Yeah.
Out
of your catcher?
Yeah, we've
Very
seen catchers that aren't able to throw out a simple
Jason Kendall.
runner
No,
from
Kendall
first.
was okay.
Dude, Kendall could
I mean,
throw
it's the
anybody
worst.
out. Go look that up.
I was thinking more
know
about
that. Kendall could
Well, I don't know
not
why you
throw
got to go
people
so
out.
deep because your hatred for the Pirates is that true. That's why you go so
I
deep.
guarantee you
and
look it
attack
up. I'm
Kendall.
right.
Now, I was thinking more along the line of Rod Barajas. That's what I was thinking.
Good old Rob Barajas.
I hate you, Rod.
But Boston has the number 1 catching prospect in baseball in Blake Swihart. He turns 23 in April.
I thought that was Tony Sanchez.
No, that is the Pirates' number 4 catching prospect.
Blake Swizzle. What's he got on it?
In 2014, AA and AAA, spending time between the two, he hit 293 with a 341 on base, 13 jacks, 64 RBIs, and 53 runs in 416 at-bats, just 80 Ks and 31 walks. He could be called up by mid-season, or he can be used as trade bait if Vazquez works out.
Trade him to the Buccos. Let's give him Francisco Cervelli and Francisco Liriano.
Yeah, let
Franciscos.
Vazquez work out. We'll give him Tabata and Pedro for Swihart.
Let's give them all our bad guys.
Trade him
for their
Pedro.
good guys.
Yeah, straight up Pedro for Clay Buckholz and Swihart.
I mean, it's a possibility, I guess, if
throw
Pedro
in,
hit.
we'll
And
throw in Tabata.
we also need a first
And
baseman
Bob
if we
Nutting.
do that, though.
Yeah, we'll throw in Neil Huntington.
Screw that. Number 6, Jason Castro of the Astros. I think I have this one ranked a little high. It was,
Castro, the Astros. That's funny.
Cuba.
yes, Jason Castro's.
He's definitely Cuban descent, right?
Possibly, probably, man.
We'll look it up.
Probably the nephew of Fidel.
We'll look it up.
Could be.
Straight up Cuban League draft.
Well, listen, he's going to be turning 28 during the season. He had a bad year last year. He hit 222 with a 286 on base. He did still provide 14 home runs for them, 56 RBIs, 43 runs. 34 walks and 151 Ks and 465 at bats. But if you look, his career numbers are 243 average with a 316 on base. So he is a little bit better than he showed last season. And in 2013, he was in beast mode. He hit 276 with a 350 on base, 18 jacks, 56 RBIs, 63 runs, 50 walks, 130 Ks, and 435 at bats. And that was his first full season in the bigs. So if he can get back to those 2013 numbers, he does deserve this number 6 spot. But if he plays like he did last year, he should be a little bit lower on this list.
I don't know what Houston's going to do this year. They've been perennially garbage.
Yeah,
If
they're
you
worse
want-
than the
Well,
Pirates.
they're
Yeah.
getting young. They have one of the best, if not the best, second baseman in baseball in Jose Altuve. They got that young outfield prospect in George Springer. That Chris Carter that hit 37 jacks last year playing first. Plus they have that prospect John Singleton at first base.
Well, he's
But
not.
then they got the number 1 shortstop prospect too in Carlos Correa.
He's not from Cuba.
He's not?
No, he's from California and he went to Stanford. So my apologies. Ball out, son. Ball out. It is what it is, though. All these Cubans coming over to play baseball. Why don't they just start a Cuban league and stay there?
They do have a Cuban
They
league.
do have a Cuban league and they make no money, so they come here.
All right, well, whatever.
But listen, Castro, he got to get back to his 2013 numbers. I don't think he's going to hit 276 or have a 350 on base, but he can hit 18 home runs. In fact, he can be a 20-plus home run hitter, but I expect him to hit more around 240 to 250.
If he doesn't do that, he's going to get castrated.
That's the life of a catcher, man.
Yeah.
All right, number 5, Toronto Blue Jays new catcher Russell Martin, 32
My man.
32 years old now. He was a Gold Glove candidate last season, and really, he
Best
had
Pirate on the team last year.
no, but he was very good for him last year. In fact, he had one of his best offensive seasons over the past decade of his career. He hit 290 with a 402 on base, 11 jacks,
Beast
67
mode.
RBIs, 45 runs.
It's a good
He
thing
even
we
had
didn't
4
re-sign
stolen
him.
bases for him. He has a very good walk rate. He took 59 walks and a very good K rate. K just 78 times and 379 at bats. But if you look, his career numbers, he's just a 259 hitter with the 354 on base. The 354 on base is still nice, but I don't expect him to hit 290 again.
Yeah,
he-
more
he's-
like 300 probably, right?
And just like you said already this spring, he's on base, but the average is slightly below that.
Well, let's go back and look. In 2008, he hit 280. That was really the last year where he had a good average until last year. 2009, he hit 250. 2010, 248. 2011, 237. 2012, 211. So it dropped every year from 2008 to 2012. Went up a little bit in 2013. He hit 226. And then last year, like we said, he blew up, hit 290. But still, he
Found it.
hit double-digit home runs 7 of 9 seasons and each of the past 4 years. So he's still going to give you double-digit pop. And even if his average does drop off, he can still reproduce the numbers, the counting stats he did last year, the 11 home runs, 67 RBIs, because Toronto has a better hitter's ballpark than Pittsburgh does.
And what he gives you behind the plate, I mean, even if his batting average does drop
Right.
off a little bit.
Look, Toronto gave him a 5-year, $82 million deal.
They definitely overpaid, but I mean, when you're 1 or 2 pieces away from what you think's going to put you over the top, some teams take a risk.
Given that he has such good defense, he can frame pitches very well, he's going to give you low-end double-digit pop. I'm not going to say he's worth 5 years, $82 million, but you can at least justify it.
Would you giving him 5 years, 65?
I mean, yeah, if he gets 5 years, 82.
I'm saying if he would have taken it and you were a GM, would you have given him 5 years?
5
65?
years, see, it's tough. 5 years is tough because then you're paying him. He's not going to be good when he's 36 years old. It's so hard.
There's risk with any big contract for any older player in any sport, but if that's somebody that can put you over the top.
I don't know, man. Coltrane's on a roll.
That's his second middle name, right? It's
He's
Nathan
so
Coltrane.
My
awesome.
boy Coltrane.
He has 4 names.
Oh, Russell Coltrane.
But like I said, his on-base percentage last year was .402. If you go back and look at 3 seasons previous to last year, he didn't have a higher on-base percentage than .327.
I'm telling you, he found it.
I think it was
Yeah.
just an outlier year for him.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I'll put money on it that he has a good year.
He's
Above average year.
He'll have a better year than Francisco Liriano.
Listen, he's gonna hit double-digit home runs for you, but I'm gonna say he hits around 240.
All right.
And his on-base percentage is-
Over or under 240, that's the number.
Yeah.
Over.
What do you think?
So, yeah, I think he's going to hit better than that.
Well, listen,
They got that lineup. That lineup's got some power, dude.
from 2011 to 2013, he didn't hit higher than 237.
Yeah, but
Well,
you
but
always
he-
tell me
like,
past
he
stats
found
mean
it.
nothing.
He's found it, and past stats don't mean they're a reference. Well, we love Russell. That's all we got to say.
All right, number 4, Brian McCann of the Yankees, 31 years old. He had a down season in terms of average the last 3 years, I guess you want to say. He hit 250, 256, and 232 over the last 3 seasons. But he still hit 23 jacks last year, 75 RBIs, 57 runs. He's a pretty good defensive catcher. He doesn't strike out too much. He played in 140 games last season, too. Although some of that was first base and DH. But you got to keep his bat in the lineup. So that's gonna happen.
Versatility, that's all that says to me.
Yeah, he's serviceable with a capital S.
The contract you're paying him, if he can play all those different positions, automatically becomes a better contract.
Well, it's all about the power with him these days. He has 18 or more home runs in each of the past 9 seasons and 20 or more in 8 of those seasons. But his other numbers have dropped off a little bit. Since he had a career high 94 RBIs in 2009, he hasn't had more than 77 in a season since. But like I said, his K rate is always excellent. His average is down from his best seasons, but his power is still there. He's good defensively. He's still a top 5 catcher.
Yeah, he's going to be able to produce in that lineup for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about that. He's a fantasy lock. He's a fantasy starter, huh?
Please believe.
Number 3, I don't know much about this guy.
Matt Wieters.
Matt Wieters.
He'll be turning 29 in May. He was one of the top prospects in baseball years ago, and he's been a good catcher, but he really hasn't lived up to what people wanted. His career numbers, he's just a 257 hitter with a 320 on base. They wanted him to be closer to a 300 hitter. He may have finally found his hitting stroke last season. He hit 308 with a 339, but it was just in 26 games played. He only had 104 bats, so you really got to see if last year was just a small sample size or if he really did find something. He went down with Tommy John surgery, though, and he's not ready to come back right now. He's expected to start the season on a disabled list. So
We
we'll
should have
see what happens.
started it off the spreads list then.
Yeah, he's on a wing and a prayer then.
Where's
Throwing him
our
up
disabled list?
third best catcher. He's on the...
He still hits double-digit home runs for you. He did from 2010 to 2013. Last year, like I said, he only played 26 games. He had 22 or more homers in each of the 3 seasons before last year. So he has real power.
Steroids.
Can he swing the bat with one hand?
Is it steroids?
I doubt it. Steroids?
He's been tested. He's
probably been tested.
Don't forget to cup the balls.
But really, look, in 2010 he hit 249, 2011 262, 2012 249, and 2013 he hit 235. So last year, hopefully he did find his
It's
his
there.
swing.
He got injured, and as soon as he gets healthy, he's going to be a beast.
Yeah, he had 23 home runs and 83 RBIs in 2012, and he's still just going to be 29 years old, so he's still young enough to produce his best numbers.
Right.
It's funny when we say a dude's old on this list and he's younger than we are.
Every single one
That's
of
the
them.
way sports go
It's
these
been every
days.
single one of them. I was Gomez or whoever we talked about. I was
This
like,
dude's
I was like,
30 years
what
old,
an
he's
old head. What
big.
an old head. He was born
Russell
3 years
Martin.
after I was.
Russell Martin's a little bit younger than me.
God.
Yeah.
He's an old head.
Man, that really makes
Old,
you...
I guess old in terms, not age.
Sports.
Yeah, old in terms of their seasons in sports we're talking about.
All right, let's move on to number 2. Yan Gomes of the Cleveland Indians. He'll be 28 during the season. He's excellent defensively, a Gold Glove candidate. He hit 278 with a 313 on base last year, 21 jacks, 74 RBIs, and 61 runs. His K rate isn't too terrible, 120 Ks in 485 at-bats. He doesn't take many walks. That's his one downfall. But he played in 135 games last year. He gives you excellent power.
He's a Cleveland Indian. He just pisses excellence.
He's got a gun for an arm.
He's a beast.
He's got a gun for an arm.
And he's still young.
And it's not like American League goes crazy with stolen bases, but you know he's going to be able to shut him down.
Best thing about young Gomes is now the Indians do not have to play Carlos Santana behind the plate, and they can move him over to first base because he's not the greatest defensive catcher. And they want to keep him healthy because his bat is one of the better ones in the Cleveland lineup.
He's a great rock star, so you can't have him hurting his knees.
So Young Gomes sticks at number 2 for me.
Young Gomes, we'll find out.
And number 1, Gold Glove winner Salvador Perez from the Royals. He'll be turning just 25 in May, so he's still very young. He had a little bit of a down season with the bat last year. Hit just 260 with a 289 on base, but he still had 17 home runs and 70 RBIs, 57 runs scored, and he got 578 at bats, so he played a ton. He doesn't K a lot, just 85 Ks. He also doesn't walk a lot like Gomes, so that's his one downside. But they want to actually give him less playing time because they want to keep him fresher. They think that's why he hit just 260. Give him a little bit less playing time. And look, he hit 292 or better each of his first 3 seasons in the bigs. So they want him to be closer to a 300 hitter. And he can hit over 20 home runs. He's young. He's excellent defensively. Everything's looking up with this guy.
He's coming into his own, definitely. Good.
If you give him the time, less time on the field to have the better average, Joe, isn't that going to hurt his power numbers, less at bats?
You can think of it that way. Yeah, he has less chances to hit home runs, but he also is fresher. So the swings he does put on the ball are going to be stronger, and it should keep his home runs up.
Plus, they were in it they went the whole way to the World Series, so that's a long season.
Yeah, they got to keep him fresh. He played in all but 12 games, and he's a catcher. You got to give this guy some rest, even if you DH him a little bit more.
Yeah, and he's already in prime form here this spring.
What's he doing?
He's hitting 324 with 34 at-bats, so that's not bad.
Yeah, looking good.
324, and his on-base percentage is the same.
So he didn't take a walk yet, or he didn't get beaned.
Right.
Well, I'd bean him. If I was a pitcher, I'd bean one person a game just for fun.
Like I said, yeah, that's his one downside. He does not take many walks, so it's not surprising to see.
Young blood.
But that wraps up all positions. We went over, 300 players? You should be smarter in baseball now, Jim.
I fell asleep, I think, during a couple segments.
Yeah.
We still have the DH segment we're going to do next week. But, yeah, we went over every offensive position.
And then we'll break you down and we'll tell you who's going to win each division, who's going to win the league, and who's going to win the World Series this year.
Spoiler
Buster
alert,
Oni.
I'm not going to pick the Pirates.
Buster, where you at? Buster.
Buster, what it is right now.
Yeah. Oh, you got to be crazy, Buster, for saying the Pirates are going to win the World Series.
Buster,
you must,
what it is right now.
Crackheads probably say that on the streets.
Well, Kutch just cut his hair off, so there was all his power right there.
Yeah, there goes
derived
Kutch's
his
power
from his dreads, so he's probably going to have a down year.
But you can buy those real quick on Amazon.
He's going to gain 20 stolen bases because of that haircut.
More aerodynamic when he fights.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up. Thank you guys for coming in studio. Thank you, fans, for joining us for this segment and all the other segments where we broke down these players.
Buster, what it is right now.
You guys can follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. Like us on Facebook. Like us on YouTube. Subscribe to that YouTube channel.
Subscribe. What it is right now.